This might be hard to hear, but it also might just set somebody free. You may not be as confused as you think you are. Often, what we call confusion is fear. It's not that we have no idea what we want, it's that what we want feels risky. It feels expensive or like it might make us super vulnerable. It feels like it might ask more of us than we are ready to give, or like it might disrupt the version of our life we have learned how to manage. So we say things like, I just don't know, I'm still figuring it out, or I need more time, or I'm confused. And maybe sometimes that is true. Maybe we are confused, but sometimes confusion is the name we give our fear when we don't want to face our fear directly. Welcome back to How to Dream. I'm Deedee Cummings, and this is episode 5, Dream Clarity. Stop calling it confusion when it's fear. Hi, and thank you so much for joining me here in this space as we work together to build ourselves back up step by step. In episode 1 of How to Dream, we started with hope because when life is heavy, dreaming can feel so far away. In episode 2, we talked about giving ourselves permission, the permission to be allowed to want more. In 3, we talked about protecting our hope because this world will try to wear it down if we don't. And in the last episode, we spoke with Broadway star Kayla Pecchioni as we talked about not confusing a good chapter with your final destination. We talked about being brave enough to ask the question, what's next? And today we're going to go one step further because once you protect your hope, once you admit you want more, and once you start asking the question, what's next, you're going to run into something you can't escape: clarity, or at least the part of clarity that might make you feel a little uncomfortable because clarity is not always what's missing as a part of our plan or as a part of our dream. Clarity might actually be present, but it can be buried under fear. So, just being honest, saying I'm confused can sometimes protect us from truths that we are not ready to deal with. If I say I'm confused, then I don't have to act, right? If I say I'm confused, I don't have to make a choice, which means if I don't make a choice, I don't have to risk any failure or rejection or disappointment or change. But the downside of that is that confusion can become a waiting room. And I have seen people live there in that waiting room for years. Now, I want to be real careful here because there is absolutely real confusion. There are seasons when people truly do not know what it is that they want, and that's okay. Sometimes we're disconnected from ourselves or burned out. We've been through so much that it is hard to hear our own voice, and that confusion is real. But there's another kind of confusion, and that's what I'm talking about today. The kind where deep down you already know the truth, but you are choosing to keep it from yourself. You know more than you are saying. You already know what you want and what you're tired of. You know what you've outgrown and what is no longer working. Most importantly, you know the things that keep pulling on your spirit, and you know the decision that keeps returning to your mind over and over again. You know. But because the knowing comes with risk, you call it confusion instead. That is the confusion that I want to talk to you about today. Fear can sound so reasonable. Fear says, I just need a little more time. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe now is actually not the right time at all. I think I should wait until I feel a little more confident. I just need one more sign. Maybe I should be grateful and not make things complicated. And again, sometimes slowing down can be wise, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we're talking about being in a waiting room of fear. It can also be fear dressing itself up as wisdom, just like we talked about with the lies that people tell us about our dreams. Fear doesn't always scream or yell. Fear can sometimes speak in whispers, silently telling you, stay where you are. Don't name that dream out loud because once you name it, you might have to do something about it. Don't ever admit to yourself what you really want. Those are all the voices of fear. That is why getting clear on your dream matters so much. You can't build a life around a dream that you won't say out loud, around a dream you refuse to name. You cannot move toward something you keep pretending that you don't see. And you definitely can't become all that it is you are meant to become in this life if you are constantly hiding from your own knowing. You know why people almost fall over themselves going out of their way to avoid clarity? Because once you have clarity, that creates a responsibility. Once you're honest about what it is that you really want to do with your life, something shifts. Once you declare out loud, this job is not enough for me, I want more. Once you say that out loud, you cannot unknow it. And yeah, that's pretty scary because then you have to decide, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do with what you know you deserve? Are you going to respect what you know? That is why some people stay stuck in confusion because it lets you avoid the grief of admitting just how long you've wanted something. Confusion lets you avoid the fear of changing and it lets you avoid the courage that clarity requires. But I want to say this to you with all the love in my heart. You do not need to punish yourself for being afraid, but you do need to tell yourself the truth. Truth is how your journey of freedom begins. It starts with you saying, I am no longer going to settle for this. Now, here's the good news about our talk today. Clarity is not always something that drops out of the sky. You can build clarity. Yes, you can build clarity through moments of being honest with yourself, through reflection, just like what you are doing here every week with me. You can build clarity by paying attention to what is going on in your life and the things that you are telling yourself on the inside of your mind and your heart about what you want for your life. You can build clarity by letting yourself want what you want. Feel it. Don't be afraid of it. It's okay to want what you want. Build your clarity by noticing what gives you life. Also, by noticing what drains you and what messages keep returning to your heart. Name that. That's how you build clarity. Clarity is often less about finding some magical answer and more about becoming honest enough to stop debating with yourself about it. Stop going back and forth about it. Get clear, tune out the noise, and build your clarity. That is powerful because it means you don't have to wait for perfect certainty. Remember, we always talk about we're not going at 100% here, we're building. You don't have to wait for perfect certainty. You just need enough truth to get you to the next step. That's all. Not the whole plan, not the full map, just enough truth to get you to the next step. And that is where so many people get stuck. They don't feel like they can get to the end of the plan, so they don't take the next step. We're focusing on the next step. People think if they're not 100% certain, then they're not clear, and that is a lie. Clarity doesn't have to be at 100%. It can come like pieces of a puzzle into your life. Clarity can sound like, I know that this is no longer it. I know I want more. I know I need to explore this. I know I keep coming back to this right here for a reason. Those are pieces of the whole plan, important pieces to hold on to. Don't let them go. Throughout this entire season of the How to Dream podcast, we have been moving back and forth between two books. One is the book that naturally goes along with this podcast called How to Dream. But I wrote that book a couple years ago, and while it did well, I realized that people were having trouble making the leap from that book directly to their dreams because there was one piece missing. And that part was hope. Around the time I released the book, How to Dream, a lot of just really crazy things started happening in the world. And it was already hard to dream before that. That's why I wrote the book, How to Dream. But when a lot of things started complicating the world and how we interacted with each other as human beings, it had an effect on our psyche, each individual psyche. And I was speaking to a group when a young lady asked me, but how do you hope? While I was talking about how to dream. So I had a lot of information to put this book together. In the meantime, hope, healing, and survival for the tired heart. Because of all the years that I'd spent as a therapist, I already knew the things that I was speaking to my therapy clients about to help them build hope. So I combined the two books into the message of this podcast, which is more than just how to dream, it's how to hope. So this season, I've been reading from both books. In the meantime, Hope, Healing, and Survival for the Tired Heart. And I've been reading to you from the book, How to Dream. And so while we're on this subject, talking about clarity, talking about confusion and how to get clear on the voices in our minds, I want to read a section to you from the book How to Dream. It's from chapter 4, and chapter 4 is called Tuning Out the Noise because we live in such a loud world. This is actually one of my favorite chapters of the book, and it starts with a quote by tennis star Venus Williams that says, I don't focus on what I'm up against. I focus on my goals and I try to ignore the rest. And the reason why that's such a powerful quote here is because that's exactly what we're talking about. She says she doesn't focus on what she's up against, the big foe, the big plan. She focuses on her goals, which is essentially you focusing on the next step. I want you to hang on to these words that come from chapter 4 of How to Dream. I love Venus and Serena Williams. If you pay attention to them, you'll notice a sense of calm around them. You can't tell them nothing, and they know it. I once saw an interview with Venus where she was asked how she deals with reporters asking her questions. Many athletes will tell you how draining and emotionally invasive press conferences can be. The kinds of questions that athletes are often by contract forced to sit there and listen to can be filled with little bombs of negativity and energy killers. When a reporter asked Venus how she handles the pressure of these conferences, she coolly said, for me personally, how I deal with it is that I know every single person asking me a question can't play as well as I can and never will. So no matter what you say or what you write, you'll never light a candle to me. Damn. Yes, that dam is actually in the book. Was that cocky? Hell yes, it was, and I loved every word. Do you want to chase down your dreams with all the passion and purpose God gave you? Then I'm going to need you to be a little cocky. That's how you talk to fear at the table when it comes in and sits down right next to you. The world is loud. The world is a very loud place and it grows louder every day. Only by becoming a little arrogant about your vision will you be able to keep all that negativity at bay. Get cocky about your vision. Get cocky about your goals. When you become the expert on your vision, no one in the world will be able to light a candle to you. There is nothing they can do or say to shine a light on you and expose anything but the goodness taking place. The more of an expert you are, the more quiet the world becomes. Nothing clears noise like focus. So I wanted to read this part of the book to you because I need you to develop a little bit of an attitude, a toughness about this life. We are kind people. So no, I'm not talking about being rude or, being nasty to people who are in your way or who are blocking your dreams. The people who are throwing the negativity and the little dream killers. That's not who we are. I'm not trying to teach you or encourage you to be nasty. I'm trying to get you to develop a little bit of an attitude, a texture about you that is able to handle these lies that come into our life about what we can do with our life. You have something that belongs to you that others are constantly telling you ain't for you, and that's a lie. Don't let this go. Have a little bit of an attitude about it. This is your life, your gift, your vision. It's yours. And I want you to be as persistent in being protective about this one magical life you have as others are about trying to strip your hope from you. Okay? So let's walk through our makeaway moment together. Let's sit with that. Let's let that absorb that we are going to get serious about our clarity and tune out the noise that we've been calling confusion and develop a little bit of a barrier to this world that is trying to strip your dreams from you. And to begin our reset, we're going to take a deep breath in, all the way in, and hold it. Roll your shoulders a little bit and let the breath all the way out. Whew. Again, I don't know if you all notice how much I get worked up when I start talking about people trying to block us from our vision. But that gets me every time. Take a deep breath in, all the way in, hold it. Now let it all the way out. When you let that breath out, I want you to not just picture letting the breath out from your lungs, but from all the areas of your body. Let it out of your hands. Let it out of your mouth. Let it out of your lungs. Let it out of your toes. Okay, now let's walk through these makeaway mindset steps. We're going to reset for the week by telling ourselves these truths. I will tell myself the truth. I do not need to force certainty. I only need enough honesty for the next step. Let that settle in. If you just had enough honesty for the next step, you would be amazed by how far you could go in a year. We're just getting to the next step and then the next step after that. But all we're focusing on is the next step, not the whole plan. And that is so freeing because we can get there using these steps. Now, name the place in your life where you have been calling something confusion. What is it? What is the place in your life that you've been calling confusion? What is the dream that you keep pushing away? Is it a career decision or a creative project? Is it a calling? Are you pushing away an idea for a new business? Is it the next level that you know you're meant for? I want you to name that, the thing that you've been calling confusion, and then ask yourself, am I truly confused or am I just scared? Sit with that and don't sit with it in shame. That's not what we do here. That's not helpful to us at all. In fact, it will set us back. Shame will set you back. So no shame. Sit with this in truth, not in shame. Shame is moving backwards and we are moving forward. Now I want you to work on shifting one thought. This week we can go from saying I just don't know to I may know more than I've been willing to admit. We're going to go from I just don't know to I may know more than I've been willing to admit. Or I don't need perfect clarity to be able to take my next step. I can take the next step. I don't need perfect clarity. Or how about there is some uncertainty. There is some fear here, but fear does not get to name my future. There is some fear here, but fear does not get to name my future. Now we are going to work on building our clarity by answering these three questions. What do I want? Why do I want it? And what is it costing me to keep pretending that I don't know? What is it costing me to keep pretending that I don't know? And answering that third question really matters here. So please spend time on this because hiding from your truth has a cost. Hiding from your truth costs you energy and time and confidence. It costs you momentum. Sometimes it costs you years. So write down one truthful answer to each of those questions, even if it's painful, especially if it's painful. Push through. The pain of your fear is costing you something that you don't have to give. Now let's take the step. I want you to say to yourself, within 24 hours, I will move toward clarity by, and then I want you to write down an action statement that's just for you, something you can and will do in 24 hours. Within 24 hours, I will move toward clarity by writing down the truth in my journal, by saying it out loud, by calling a friend and telling them I'm so excited about this truth about my life. A supportive friend. Remember, you can't share your dream with everybody. Call a supportive friend, one that's going to be happy that you are declaring this truth about your life. Maybe you can research a new path that you want to take, something that you think that you're interested in. You can talk to someone wise, someone who's already doing similar things to what you want to do. Make a list of options. Remind yourself you have them. You have options. Or take one small step toward the thing in your life that you keep circling, the thing you keep coming back to, the thing your heart won't let you let go of. And make it real. Say, I will move toward clarity by getting stronger in my focus and tuning out the noise. Because when your clarity gets stronger, when you respect it, when you listen to it and you talk to it, you give it room to grow. Let's say these affirmations together this week. I will tell myself the truth. I do not need perfect certainty to begin. I am allowed to know exactly what I want, and I am brave enough to take one step toward it. I love that. Thank you for saying those affirmations with me this week. Here's our prompt that I want you to journal about and think about all week long while you're walking, while you're sitting in the carpool line, while you're eating your lunch. I want you to think about this question for the week. What am I pretending I do not know? That's the question. So let's sit with that. What am I pretending I do not know? The answer is closer than you think. So spend time with that question. Tune out the noise and let the answer come to you. Thank you so much for joining me here every week. I am excited to walk this journey with you. Be sure you are following this podcast. You can actually go back to the homepage for this podcast and click follow so you don't miss any updates at all. And I want you to write down the answer to this last question we just talked about in our prompt for the week. What am I pretending I do not know? So we can get clear and get real with ourselves about where our future is headed. I don't want you to edit that question or explain it away. I just want you to be truthful with yourself. The real truth about what you can do with this one magical life, not the lies you've been told, because that's not real. Your life and your potential is what's real. If you're walking through this season with me, go back to the How to Dream book and make sure that you download the free workbook that's inside, because that's exactly the kind of inner work that helps people move from confusion to truth to motion. And remember, our big goal is to get our dreams in motion. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you in the next episode.